Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Forever Bristol City podcast. And so it continues, a stunning performance at Deepdale this afternoon, where it finished Preston North End 1, City 3, 8 games undefeated. And maybe the first goal had a bit of controversy about it, but City in the second half were steamrolling the opposition, even though they did come back with an equaliser straight after the interval. I'm joined today by Ian and the two Tovies, no relation, Mark and Dave, who's over in Spain, second appearance. And I think we'll be having him back more often, Dave, because that's 2 appearances and 2 wins, 100% record. I'll start with you, Dave. What were your immediate reactions on the final whistle?
I felt very different to half time. At half time, I was a bit meh because of the goal. I wasn't really feeling the game. And when Preston scored, a little bit of me was glad. But the response was fantastic. It was 2 incredible goals for very different reasons. And sometimes injuries make you stumble upon something. And Maguire was absolutely incredible. Bird in that position just looked like a fit with those 2 behind. And by full time, it was like, as now, it's a buzz. It hasn't gone away yet. The away win at Preston, which doesn't happen all the time. A second half performance like that, it's very positive.
Excellent. Ian, your thoughts?
3 points. Put our goal difference right. We've now got a 0 goal difference by my reckoning. Up to 8th in the table. 1 brilliant goal and 1 outstanding goal, and it vindicates me for saying that Mark Sykes should play on the right, not the left. Okay, you might have punched the first one in the net, but that sort of stuff happens. So it came out in our favour this time. No doubt it'll come out badly for us later on in the season because these things have a habit of it. But you cannot be pleased with 2 defeats in 13 and now another away win.
Yeah, that's good. Mark, your thoughts on 5-5. I think it was one of the last games to finish today with 12 minutes of time added, 6 in each half.
It was a real strange game and loads of happy accidents. The first goal that should have been disallowed, the injuries that forced changes in formation and personnel that made us better balanced and gave us more energy. And then the performance of the team after what was a flaky first half, an outstanding second half, where we hardly gave Preston a kick, aside from a few dangerous free kicks on the edge of our area, and a final goal that would have graced the Premier League.
Yeah, no, if Man City had scored that, we'd be watching that time and time again. No, I mean, as Ian just said, it's 2 defeats in 13 now. And, the last 8 games, 3 wins, 5 draws. And what a tantalising fixture that is to look forward to on Tuesday night at Ashton Gate against Sheffield United, who won 2-0 at Burnley. And dare I say it, if City were to get something against the Blades by way of a win, it could push us maybe temporarily into that part of the table, i.e. the top 6, where, well, we all hope that we'll get there and maybe be there at the end of the season. But there we go. Dave, the team selection, Williams was fit. He came back. There weren't going to be many other changes, were there? But on the bench was maybe where the surprises were.
To be honest, Dickie was back in the side, obviously, and it looked, going with the last, same as the last game. But it was more about like what was up front, Wells again. And what that tells me is that the 2 men that we signed in the summer aren't up to the job right now, which is pretty obvious for everyone. But you have to ask, are they going to be trusted again? Because with these changes, the team looks better. The team looks more active. And Ian's described them in the past as punts. And for me, that's the biggest danger area, because these 2 men were brought in to take the team forward, and Wells is far superior to them. And his best days are behind him. He's still fantastic, don't get me wrong. But that next step up in terms of strikers, we have 1 guy. And can we really rely on Wells for the whole season? He should be playing, but I'm not sure he can play every game. And if he doesn't, who comes in for him right now? And I'm not sure on that one. But in terms of the formation at the start, it was kind of what you expected with Dickie in the side.
Yeah. Ian, you weren't too impressed. I saw one of your tweets with the lineup, because it was a little bit of a slap in the face for Morrison. I don't know why I called him Eliasson. I've corrected your sound as well, by the way, and a couple of people said they couldn't hear you. That was my fault on the bar here. But just tell us why you thought the lineup was not, and the 20 was not to your particular liking to some extent.
Well, I think if you're going to have a pathway at the club, then before Naismith and Cornick are in the team, then Morrison and Josh Campbell-Slowey should be, in terms of the bench I'm talking about. Secondly, I wouldn't ever play Mark Sykes at left wing back. He's a right-footed player. He's best on the right, so you can either play him as a right winger or a right wing back, which is, I suspect, where he'll play with George Tanner getting injured, where he'll play against Sheffield United. And just to make a point on the strikers, they're not getting, particularly Mayulu, hasn't had the time or the minutes. So it's a bit harsh judging a bloke on, over 13 games. What's he had? 290 minutes? I'm not talking about full games. In altogether. He started at Blackburn, didn't play well, but by God, he went on his own. And I think Armstrong, we knew he was raw when we bought him. That's why we got him for what we got him for. Because if you put, as I said, I think the other week, if you put Naki's brain into Armstrong's body, you'd have a 70, 80 million pound striker on your hands. So let's hope that Naki can work with him, because one thing he might do at the end of this season is perhaps sign a short-term playing contract, but also we can take him on as our strikers coach, because if you watch his movement, particularly for the second goal, it's absolutely fantastic. And his link-up play, I didn't think his touch was that great today, to be honest, particularly in the first half.
First half was poor.
First touch. So, and the great thing for me is we can play 30% at least better than we played today. And in terms of Marcus McGuane, what were some of our fans saying a few weeks ago? What we signed him for, he didn't even play. What we signed him? Well, he ain't a bad signing for nothing, is he?
But
based on today.
That's how you made the point. That's where you made the point. McGuane had a chance.
Exactly that, Dave. But sometimes people just got to calm down a little bit. We signed him. He hadn't played a lot of football. So Manning's looking at him every day in Oggy in training. Is he right? Is he right? They played with him before at Oxford, so they knew what they were signing off to. So my feeling with McGuane, for a free transfer signing, when we got Taylor Gardner-Hickman out the door for 1.5 million, plus another $500,000 if Birmingham go up, that ain't a bad swap.
No, that's a good deal. Let's let Mark have a little chat. Mark, you there? The team, the bench. I saw somebody put it was a little bit extravagant having 3 strikers on the bench when certainly Cornick is not going to get any minutes at all, and Morrison should have been on there, maybe and one or maybe both of Morrison and the other young lad defender. And people said, "Oh, the pathway's blocked again." Even Ian said that. But what were your thoughts on the lineup?
Well, I didn't say it was blocked, Dave. I said I'd rather see those two on the bench than Naismith
some other people said on threads it was blocked. But Mark, what were your thoughts of the lineup? Obviously,
I was shocked. I thought Elijah Morrison did enough. Very mature cameo appearance for 15 minutes against Leeds when he defended really well, made a great late run, was unluckily booked, shouldn't have got a yellow card, and he deserved to be on the bench at least. So I was surprised, especially Mark Sykes' last appearance at left wing back, and that was against Stoke last year, where we left so much space behind both wing backs. We just got punished every time that we went forward. Of course, it's on his wrong side. So I was a bit shocked really, but I think we went to match Preston's 3-5-2 with a 3-4-2-1, and in the first half, especially with Kane, Cade, and Ellis, they got round us far too easily. The players didn't look comfortable with it, but I think the injuries to Tanner and Williams really helped us in a way, because it meant Sykes was on his natural side, and Roberts gave us balance on the left. and then McGain's injury. I mean, we'll purr about his recovery play was terrific.
Yeah.
And his passing was good, and he just looked like he was, you know, he was gliding along the pitch a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, box to box. It's early days, but he looks at the box to box midfielder where he hopes he's going to be. So it's early days. He's only made 2 appearances, but for a 70-minute appearance, I thought he was probably shaded for man of the match by Max Bird. But very good performance.
I mean, the thing is, as Ian said, you know, it's a good signing, yeah, for nothing. And I think he adds more than Taylor Gardner-Hickman. Taylor was a little bit of an enigma, really. You didn't really know what.
Well, he never found his natural position, and the same thing happened at West Brom, didn't it? They couldn't decide whether he was a right-sided defender or a wing back or a midfielder. He didn't find his position, and West Brom had that problem. He had exactly the same problem at City. He didn't make any position his own.
No.
And hopefully Marcus McGain will do that, because he's a defensive midfielder who's got energy box to box.
Yeah, and we got to look at the pedigree. We got to look at the pedigree of McGuane as well, because you know, it was Arsenal and Barcelona where he's been. Now you have to ask what happened. You know, because he was good enough to be in or around those squads in the broadest sense. You know, what happened? Where did it go wrong? You know, and I don't suppose any of us have studied the detail as to how he ended up at Oxford after being at those 2 illustrious clubs. But let's get back into the action. Start with you first, Dave. The goal, the opening goal. You know, it just seemed to be an innocuous ball forward. But you know, you were one of the people that was sort of saying, it's cheating, you know, didn't feel comfortable. You said it just in your resume of the game there. But take us through the goal and just explain why you take that view, because what goes around comes around. We've been done more than once in recent years, and I thought that was a little bit of justice compared to some of the things we've had to put up with.
You know, football's complex. There are ways to be done. There are ways to cheat. Everybody's got to have a bit of dark arts about them. When I first saw it, the handball, the first look is like, come on, man, you can't swing like that. But it's not the handball. It's obvious it's handball, but it doesn't mean to hit it with his hand. But it's so obvious. Is it realistic to expect a player to put it in the net after? For me, it's like, come on, just be a bit honest here. It's so obvious that it's like, just be honest. I didn't feel anything.
Dave, you didn't think he meant to do it, because I've watched it 3 or 4 times, and I thought it was a cheeky little flick of the hand, a flick of the hand like that, and he knew damn well what he was doing.
The first time, yeah, but I don't know why, but the second and the third time that I saw it, I kind of changed my mind and thought, he's kind of fighting with the player, and it hits it. I don't think he actually means to do that, but it's the bit after when it's so obvious. It's like, do you really have to? I don't know. For me, it just, there's no pleasure in that goal. It's not like, yeah, it's a goal. It's just, really, that's not a free kick. That's my emotion there.
Ian, what did you think of it? I mean, it was I had my eye off the action because I saw this hopeful ball forward, and next thing the ball's in the back of the net. But the moral issue here isn't the one. It's just football. It happens.
You know, if you want hard and fast morality, I'd suggest you look somewhere apart from football. If I'm being perfectly honest,
but that makes behaviours crap. We talk about behaviours, and that is just a terrible example of it. You want better from your players than that. You just do.
Yeah, you could say that. My criticism would go to their goalkeeper. Their goalkeeper is probably a foot taller than you. He should have come out, claimed the ball, and knocked Hirakawa on his backside. That's what he should have done. And he'd have got away with it, because if he'd have got the ball, if he missed the ball and took him out, it'd have been a pen. But he was a bit mamby-pamby, the keeper, when he came out there, wasn't he? I mean, you know, there wasn't a big shout of mine and, you know, wipe out him and anything else that's in the way. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It'll happen to us. Look at the George Tanner penalty. You know, and the one, I can't believe we had an apology letter for the one at Hull, but apparently we did. So the assessor didn't think it was a penalty. So a lot of it's in the eye of the beholder. Did it hit his hand? Yeah. Was it deliberate? Could have been.
But how can we expect referees? We talk about referees not making mistakes and getting apologies. If the players are going to be like that obvious, no one complain when the referee makes a mistake. You're right, they all do,
Oh,
but someone's got to make the change. I would rather see a player get applauded by a whole stadium and maybe make a change than have nonsense goals like that, because ultimately the next time the referee makes a mistake, it's like, well, you didn't complain with the handball. You're right, what goes around comes around.
And the referee, who was pretty appalling throughout, he was a standing referee.
Was terrible.
He was a standing referee. And the thing is, now people were saying, this is a case for VAR in the Championship. And I wonder whether, if there had been VAR, there would have been enough appeals to them to have queried the decision. And then you wonder whether had it gone to VAR, would have been booked for deliberate handball, because what he did was probably no different to fisting a ball off the line or something like that in the penalty area.
It was exactly the same as the tackle on Bird in the second half. That would have been a VAR red in the first half. Sorry,
first half on the half hour. I was going to that.
When he's took the ball, and he's gone through, and he's about halfway up Bird's thigh.
Yeah,
with his studs.
Mark, what were your thoughts? Are you taking?
It's a weird one. I mean, it's the funniest thing is that Preston, I think, are expecting the referee to disallow the goal as much as our players were when Max O'Leary was impeded against Swansea. So I mean, it's just hilarious build-up, because Mackey's hooked the ball back over his head. Story heads the ball back towards Woodman, and Hugh chases it down. I think Hughes or Lindsay come across to try and stop you getting to the ball. And he does it deliberately. He pats the ball past him and then just follows it in. And I think he's looking back at the referee, expecting him to blow the whistle. But of course, they can't see it. So he can't make a judgment on something he can't see. The assistant, I don't know if the assistant, I think the assistant is over the other side. The referee can't see it. The assistant can't see it. So it's a goal. It's not great. He should be on the naughty step. I can't stop laughing. You're right, Dave. It is everything that's bad, but I think it evens itself out over a season. I mean, with our injuries and some of the challenges after that were let go by the referee. I mean, he met some terrible challenges go. I mean, even just after they scored, I think there was a foul on Sykes before we got our second goal. It evens itself out, but it shouldn't have been allowed. You did what all forwards should do, just chase down those loose balls. But Woodman and the defender should have done better. And he does push it past him and then runs around the other side. The referee's there to referee the game. Blow the whistle, put the ball in the net, and we'll worry about it later.
Yeah. No, he was poor, and he just got worse. And as somebody put on here, booking one of our players for delaying a throw.
And
then if he commits a foul, then it's a second yellow, and he goes. I mean, no, he
booked two of them, Dave. He booked Viner and Roberts.
Yeah. So Dave, we're a goal up. It was a bit scrappy. Preston got a couple of corners, but we didn't really look in trouble. And Tanner went off, and that was a blessing in disguise, as Ian and I know Marcus said. And we had to reposition. And this business about players playing themselves back to fitness, Dickie was a starter, but there was Roberts on the bench, sort of coming on straight away. I mean, we had to alter the side, didn't we? And it turned out with that substitution to be, for the best.
I think the first thing to acknowledge is that 20 minutes after the goal, the crowd was up. The crowd was really, really angry. Their players were doing challenges that they knew they could get away with, because they know what referees do when they've made such a terrible mistake. They let a few things go, and it would have been really, really easy to cave. And Max often gets, later on we'll talk about the goal, but there was a moment where he bluffed. He could have come out, made a challenge, the player would have gone over. You could see maybe a penalty was coming, and Max backed off, let them put the cross in. So in that little 20-minute period, the players kept their heads. Even though injuries were happening, they had every excuse to almost fold a bit, but they kept themselves together. They fought through it. And really, Preston didn't offer much in that little period all through that. And I think it was very impressive from everybody, to be honest.
Yeah. Ian, that tackle that their player did, I think it was Story on Bird. I was listening to Leroy commentating on the game, and he said that's just nasty what he did there. You obviously saw it like that, Ian, yeah? And
it was a deliberate follow through. I know players can't disappear once they've made a tackle, but he didn't need to go through with that force against Bird's leg.
Yeah.
So if you can come to it and say, well, if there was VAR, Hughes' goal might have been disallowed, probably would. That guy would have got sent off, and then you're into if you're anti-territory, aren't you? So it's just a question of, will it even itself out over the season? Well, I hope it doesn't, and I hope it's in our favour. But like I say, if we'd had VAR, the George Tanner penalty against Cardiff would have never been given, and then you don't know how that would have finished off. So, and by the way, how well are Cardiff doing since they
Callum
drew with us?
O'Dowd's got the assist and scored the winner, little git. But there we go. Sticking with you, Ian. Sticking with you, Williams going off. Was that a recurrence of what he's had? Because he was back because of suspension. But you know, was that a recurrence of any injury that he's had, to your knowledge, or something new?
Well, Joe's had hamstring problems, but not last season and not this season and not in pre-season. He didn't start the season that well, but that was nothing to do with fitness, that he just wasn't playing very well. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything that he got in the challenge, because if you look, he was putting his hand up before he was anywhere near the challenge, and he more or less jumped out the way of the ball. So I think that it looked to me like he might have done, because he was limping when he went off, and it might have been either his thigh, or the way he was walking, or something with his hip, or as Mike on here has just said, could be his calf. I suppose it could be. It didn't look like a hamstring injury, let's put it that way. But no doubt, we'll hear what Liam says about it, which will be pretty non-committal. And then they'll get him back, give him a scan, and we'll see where we go from there. But
unlikely to play Tuesday night, though, you reckon, Ian? Yeah, Joe.
Well, I would say he's unlikely to play Tuesday or Saturday, and I think if we get them both the national break, we'll be lucky.
All right, Mark. Preston had a flurry, as you'd expect, towards the end of the half, and I've got on 40 minutes. Maguire got everybody out of jail when he got a touch on a ball that was played across, and I think Roberts caught out of position, and then from the resulting corner they headed over. But we've got, I think, all round the side, we've got a degree of athleticism that maybe has been lacking, and certainly in recent games that stamina and that bite has been coming through. But that was quite critical that Maguire stopped Frockyar scoring now, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a certain goal, because again, Caden Ellis got in behind us, and he was doing that countless times in the first half. And I think we were left exposed, but McGain got his foot on the ball. But I think today, the amount of recovery tackles we made coming back from forward positions was absolutely outstanding. The work rate of the team, doubling up, filling in holds, stopping them from playing. Because in the first half, we looked very open, and they were playing crossfield balls to Potts and Caden Ellis. Caden Ellis is on loan from Aston Villa. I think it was at Plymouth last year, and he's previously been at Huddersfield and MK Dons and Swindon, so he's been around a bit. But we really tightened up in the second half, but it was the recovery tackles, and then the build-up play from that, which was outstanding.
Yeah, and we were playing the ball quickly.
We made Preston look so one-dimensional, and the defending, and for Rob Dickie coming back today, you wouldn't think he'd been out. He was just upright, never dived in. His positional play was great. I think he had a free kick given against him at the end, where Caden Ellis just threw himself to the ground. But he was absolutely terrific today, Rob Dickie, and shows what he'd been missing.
He was immense.
Don't you think it's because part of it today is because McGuane and Knight just work so well in the middle together? Bird can kind of be a bit further forward, and he doesn't have to do the dirty work, shall we say. And those two have both got a decent pass on them. They've both got a decent energy, and they're good at covering for each other, because quite often we say with Knight, he leaves the door open. McGuane covered that. If McGuane made a run, Knight covered that. So they were both doing so much for each other. And
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, David. We most of the time this season, we haven't really screened the back four or the defence really well. But I think when we did give the ball to the defenders, there was never going to be poor a loose pass to the goalkeeper. We look good on the ball, and Dicky, when he's on the ball, he looks great. He strides out of defence and passes. He's got good feet, as well as being a good tackler and a good first ball defender. He can also play the ball out of defence. So that adds another dimension to our play. But you're right, Knight and McGain really screened the defence well today. But like I said, it was that recovery tackling. Especially in the second half, where we really didn't give Preston a sniff.
Well, we didn't give them a sniff, but Dave, they did draw level on 47 minutes, and it was a bit of a rash challenge from McNally. Not my words. I think it was sort of the words used on the commentary. What were your thoughts on the goal? Should Max have done better? Because the commentators on Robin's TV did. But Dave, how did you see it?
Look, when you're sat watching a header like that from a centre half, it's easy to say it was rash and he shouldn't have committed. But when they don't jump and get involved, it's like put your body on the line, And sometimes they're going to make mistakes like that, and it happens. In terms of the goalkeeper, it's like, it's that close. You have one job: do not get beat this side. If it goes over the wall, it goes over the wall. But do not get beat that side, and it's unforgivable in that position. And it's a very, very, very bad mistake from generally a good goalkeeper, and he'll look back on that and he'll know it's just not acceptable to concede there. It wasn't even like it was right in the corner either. It's just not good enough.
Oh, I thought you said it wasn't in corner. I thought it was. Ian, do you share Dave's view that that's an error by Max, and he does like to take the dead balls at Greenwood? That was the only one he had any modicum of success with. Obviously, it went in the back of the net, but criticising Max for that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I criticised the free kick for being given, for being conceded in the first place. It was an unnecessary challenge. There was no way he was going to get the ball the height it was, not the height he is and the height Greenwood is. But having said that, when that happens, you have to defend it. And I thought Max got his positioning slightly wrong. And with the quality of the delivery of somebody like Greenwood, it was at something similar to what Twine would do. If he'd have moved to start with, if he'd have moved a foot to his left, he'd have probably stopped it. But he didn't. And there we were at 1-1. Yeah. And I think at that point, we were probably all fearing the worst.
We were, but it didn't happen. Let's let Mark talk about the goal as you saw it. Are you blaming Max there as well?
Yeah, because he's left the centre. He's making him play the ball into the corner that he scores from. And the pace beats him. I remember a shot against Ipswich last season from about 20 yards. And I think if he dives full length, if he's in the centre of the goal, he saves that because he dives down and gets to it low and pushes it round the post. But he's sort of crouching with his knees tucked in, which leaves space under his body where the ball goes. So he just doesn't get down to it properly. It's just a bad mistake because he's almost directed into that side and it goes round the wall, but it beats him with pace. And he should be getting a touch on that. And just diving and parrying the ball. He doesn't. He should be able to push the ball out or at least deflect it.
Yeah, and City, is, I think you said, Ian, feared the worst a little bit, but within 5 minutes, Dave, it was vintage Naki Wells, wasn't it? And it's a year ago that we had the change, and we were promised fast front foot attacking football. I think that's the right pronunciation. And it was that, wasn't it? I mean, we'll talk about the third goal later. And so fans want to see that type of goal. And Sam Wells' position was superb, wasn't it?
The first thing, it doesn't come by accident. In the past, up until now, one of my frustrations has been too much. Wait, I better not go forward. Element of control. Keep the ball. Wait for the right opportunity. But Sykes saw a gap. He went into that gap. And I know what you're saying about Wells. It's a fantastic header, but I think a lot of people that like football and play football think I could have put that in the net. It's the cross. The cross is incredible. It's really difficult to hit a ball that hard with that much whip to precision. And there is a reason when Wells scores, his first thing to do is acknowledge the cross because it's just not that easy. If it's softer, a keeper can get there, someone can get back. It is the perfect cross, and it's the right man to finish it.
Ian, that's Naki's 4th goal of the season, and as we said at the start of the pod, you know, he was expected to be the make-weight striker. You know, he's keeping his place on merit. He didn't have a great first half, to be fair, but you know, his positional play and his nous in the area, a couple of times he slipped the defenders and created openings, but that was a goal of quality, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it's another reason why Mark Sykes needs to play on the right, not the left, because he took the ball past the covering defender. When the covering defender came across, guy couldn't touch him because he'd already been booked, which is really important point. But I criticise Mark Sykes sometimes for getting the ball and passing it backwards instead of going. And I like to see wingers do that. I like to see them go outside, cross the ball, out-swinging cross, much easier to head in than an in-swinger.
100%.
And Naki's movement in the middle, he got right between the two centre-halves who were just looking at each other and say, well, hang on, was he yours or was he mine? What's going on? And by that time, and the header is really good. It's in the net before the keeper can even get a dive in, to be perfectly honest. It was almost the line before his hand was anywhere near the line of the ball. So, yeah, terrific goal from Mark Sykes, who, you know, he showed his value because he was also very good at the near post defensively, heading the ball out. Now, you know, he does that. He tracked back well. And that's why I think George Tanner always plays a bit better when he's got Mark Sykes in front of him.
What did you think of that one, Mark Tubby? What did you think of the goal?
I think it's exactly what Ian says. I mean, I've countless times I've seen Mark Sykes come back inside and check his run. He had the confidence to push the ball in front of him. He galloped past McCann, who, like what he said, was already on a booking. And then he hits the ball brilliantly, the arc of the ball, the right pace. Wells times his run brilliantly and takes the pace off the ball and just powers it into the corner. Woodman's got no chance. The two defenders are looking at each other, saying what's happened. It's a fantastic goal. Great counter-attacking goal. And Sykes took it from it just inside our half to do that. But I'd love to see him do that more often. Just take on the defender, you know, and it gets the crowd going as well.
Don't you think it's
executed goal?
Don't you think it's a mentality though that's come along in the last few games that it's happening a lot more, where players are getting chances to go and just going? It seems to be
I think that
almost
was borne out by what we saw later as well, by some of the intricate play. I was quite, you know, I was blown away by some of the play on the edge of the area, you know, that we'll come on to later. But yeah, I think it is the right mentality. It's risk and reward, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes I don't think we attack with enough, you know, with enough players. But today, you know, at times we saw that we did that. When the midfield backs up the forwards, you can create opportunities, and when they go in from those, you know, it's brilliant, isn't it, to watch?
Oh, definitely. As you say, some of the passing was intricate, and Dave, there was a good move with deserved a goal, and when McGuane passed to you and did the little back heel, which featured in the third goal, which we'll come on to later, and the keeper was rooted to the spot as Bird drove it wide, just wide of the post. The guys doing the commentary, Leroy, thought he'd have been disappointed that he didn't bury that one, and we were swarming all over Preston by that point, weren't we?
Drive with delivery. You know, the chance you're going to score some, you're going to miss some. But McGuane today, that is an example of it. Before we're talking about someone tracking back and clearing. Now we're talking someone driving through the team. That's something that we've been missing. And once you get a player doing that, the attacking players get a sniff of like, this is coming, time to make the runs. And it changes the whole attacking mentality, because when that's not coming, the runs stop. And all of a sudden you could see you was like, boom, he's a very intelligent player. He knew what was coming. I think it was Bird that missed the chance, right? Yeah, and it was unlucky. Yeah. He put it wide, but the idea was correct. It was just the execution, and they're not going to be perfect.
No, but they're. And Ian, where was you playing? Because we've talked about Sykes on the right. Was he playing in the 10, or was he just having were we playing with two 10s? I don't know these technical terms. I'm not.
I would. Well, we started off playing in a 4-3-2-1. sorry, a 3-4-2-1, and we were playing with 2 10s, and the 2 10s were Max Bird and you.
Yeah.
In the second half, when Hayden Roberts came on, obviously he came on and played left wing back. Mark Sykes swapped over to play right wing back, and then you was playing as a second half. I'd call it an 11/10. So he was more on the left than the right. But I thought over the 90 minutes, I think that was. I know he didn't play 90 minutes. He went off towards the end, but I thought that was Yu's best performance.
You know what? I'd agree with you 100% there,
because
Ian,
he was just he was busy. All right, look, he's not going to knock people over. That's not what we signed him for. But he was getting in the way of them today and getting around their ankles and getting the balls. He might buy the odd free kick, especially in home games like that. And I think it makes a lot. It makes a lot of difference. I mean, when you saw when Anis came on, he was trying hard, but he's another one of them that can't defend for toffee. He's decent going forward, but they're not going to knock anybody over, and that's not really what they're for. They're just got to get in the way. But I think the big difference today was our quality in the final third. I mean, we only had 5 shots in the whole game, right? But 60% of them were on target, and guess what? We scored with every one.
But it makes a huge difference when you think another chance is coming.
Their keeper never made a save. Not one save did their keeper make. So that's really tells a tale to all blind now, because Preston had a load more shots than us. I was looking at the stats. They had 14 shots, but they only got 2 on target, and one was the goal, the free kick, and I can't even remember the other one. Because I mean, in terms of goalkeeper saves, their goalkeeper didn't save any, and Max saved 1.
Foul count was 2011 as well, which somebody put up.
Yeah, I said that on the text earlier on, and it's because Benny was on the text was saying that it's a real problem when the referee was probably told at halftime, look, you made a right rick there for that goal. So then he tried to even it up, as Leroy said on commentary. And that was right. And I don't think it's so much bias. It's trying to be over fair. And but then again, I thought the guy was pretty incompetent. And I'm not, I think the standard of refereeing this season in the Championship is gone down by about 15, 20%. We have had we have had 1 or 2 good ones, I have to say. But when they're bad, they're really bad.
Exactly. Mark, you had your hand up there. What were you going to say?
Yeah, talking about you, the other thing that he does, and he did brilliantly today, is he'll drop back into the edge of the area, and he won't just whack the ball up the field. He'll carry it out. So the other players have got to follow him. So that, creates great counter-attacks. So, got somebody on the ball who's intelligent enough to look for a supporting player. Invariably, he'll get his next pass away. But it's all about risk and reward. When you're bringing it out, you need, you've got an out ball, but you need players following the player in possession so that you can continue to move and you don't get pinned back in your own half. So he's done that on a few occasions, and I thought he did that again today. Like Ian said, he just gets in the way, but he does it intelligently, wins the ball, looks up, then he's got to have an option. That's what we're doing differently rather than just whacking it away. And that's really good.
You're talking there a little bit, Mark, about almost like a sea change. Do you think? I mean, it's great to see Liam back on the touchline as he was against against Leeds, yeah. But do you think there's that sea change because all of you have said the players are playing with a little bit more free expression, but
I just think it's we got better technical players, and because McGain was there today, we didn't have the old adage about our bird or not going to be playing in the defensive or the number 10 role, because you've got somebody who links up, the midfield and attack. But it's just players expressing themselves, but they've all got that technical ability. But I think what we're showing in recovery tackling, so we can actually build counters, is great. That's what I'm seeing, the progress I'm seeing in games like that. I still think to some extent we look a good counter-attacking side, but when we do pass the ball, we look good. but the injuries forced a change, and I think we looked a little bit more 4-4-2. But it
Do you know, I was
enabled
going to
us.
say that, Mark, because
Yeah.
some people would say, well, again, the commentary, they were almost saying that it was sort of like Zach playing at right back with Sykesy in front of him, and then oh god, I'm saying it now, Sykesy, Hoggy, and
Don't do it.
But the shape looked
I'm not
better.
going
And
to
it
get down
enabled
that
us.
route.
It
And Hayden
enabled us
Roberts
to-
playing at right back with Dickie and McNally as two in the middle there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
that's
just
what you're
we
alluding
looked
to
a lot
with
more
4-4-2.
comfortable when those changes happened by accident or by design. But we got players who could adjust to those changes, look comfortable on the ball, and when in the face of adversity, injuries, and conceding goals, we come back from conceding so many goals this season. That's the big change this season, and I think it's a great one.
But
We're
you
on
mean
a
the
run.
big change in recent weeks that we've
run
tightened up at the back.
of 8 games unbeaten.
No.
I mean, it's amazing. I know a lot of draws, but I think we're seeing real progress.
I think
that's a great
something that's important. Like there are many reasons why there's been this slight change. Some of them are heartbreaking, and others are just by design. The fact Manning was there today, and it was still that way inclined. It's easier when you're a striker when you have a feeling of more chances are coming. You can see the difference. Players get the ball, they're looking to go forward. I remember at periods of last season, there was how many times did we hear we have to work harder for our goals? Now we're nicking the ball and it's forward. As Ian has said about Sykes, how many times are we like go forward? And they are doing that now, and it's enjoyable. Like it's and I'm not talking the whole game. It's an away game. It's Preston. It's not going to be easy. But you could see the players were standing up to it, and they were looking to try and go forward. And that's the kind of football I want to see. And
I think
complaints from
David,
me.
the simple thing is confidence. It's all about confidence.
Sure.
The players are looking a lot more confident and assured.
All right.
And
okay.
that's shown on
Now,
the pitch.
Ian, when I said about there's been a sea change, I heard you in the background go, "Oh, here we go," as though I was going to say, "Is this down to Hogg having a bit more influence on the field of play?" That's why you said that, wasn't it? Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Because I said it.
Absolutely.
Now. Yeah. Right.
Well, a conspiracy theory every
then
corner.
We just said that's not a bloody conspiracy. That's just an opinion. That is
it's
an
obvious.
opinion.
It's a change. It's a clear change.
We
between the
are
two.
better to watch. We've become easier on the eye, and as Dave said, it was not pretty, but we'll come on to the goal in a second. But Ian, the confidence, something has changed a little bit, whichever way you look at it, isn't it? Yeah. And what do you think it is? And I said about tightening up the defence, because David said about we're not conceding goals. We have stopped conceding. We were conceding 2 a game for the first 5 games of the season. Now, it's okay.
Yeah. When we brought in McNally, I don't think he was 100% fit.
No.
And he had to get used to playing in a back four with Zach Viner.
Yeah.
And Zach had to get used to playing with him. So that takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
And we had 1.5 really bad performances.
Yeah.
That's all season.
Yeah.
So, and now we're on 3 defeats in the last 21 games. And I think today, having Rob Dickie back and switching to a 3 made us look more in control, more solid, in balance. Certainly in the second half, not so much. I think in the first they had to there was a little bit of getting used to it, and obviously the injuries were disruptive. However you look at them, I know the players that came on did really well, and we shuffled positions because we had to, and sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it? But as Chris Hatcliffe's just pointed out on the text feed, players back from injury. I mean, it makes a big difference. I think Naki being up front is giving us a better shape and better movement and people to look for. And then you still look back and you think, blimey, well, you still look at the players that are out at the moment. I mean, Ross McCrory's out, Scott Twine's out, Cam Pring's out.
Yeah, God, But Ian, you've always said there's always
Dave, is we've got a squad. So when Joe Williams was out before, he thought, oh God, that's it. They're just going to run right through the middle of midfield now. Now we got Marcus McGuane.
Yeah.
And I'd be inclined, if we wanted to play two holding central midfield players, to play Williams and McGuane next to one another, because I think that'd make you even more solid, but you might lose a little bit going forward. So you have to be slightly careful with it, because it's about scoring goals. So people were saying, well, we're not scoring goals. We're too easy to play against. So, and, you go and win a game, and people say, oh, well, Middlesbrough, but we scored 2 at Middlesbrough without reply. They got whacked 3-0 by Coventry today at Middlesbrough. So that's an interesting result.
Yeah.
But we scored 2 at Stoke. Now, the previous season, we went 2 goals down, then we let in another 2. We got battered, right? This season, we let in 2. We're playing really battered, defending awfully. We outplay them for the rest of the game. Should have won it, but we came back and got a point. Now, that's a massive difference. This season, from it progressed, if you want to call it that, under Manning and Hogg. And it's important to realise the way the two of them work is they work very, very, very closely together. They're like, well, you listen to them talk, they're like 2 peas in a pod, really.
Definitely.
But even when you're when you're 2 peas, you're not the same.
One reason.
One at a time. Right.
Sorry.
Mark first, then Dave.
Yeah, if you look at the fixtures, we conceded 11 goals in the first 5 games. We conceded 6 in the last 8. I think that's excellent, considering I think the first 3 games Rob Dickie played, then he got injured against Coventry, and I think Cal Naismith came in before the international break, and we got 2 3-0 hammerings against Derby and Blackburn. Then McNally came in, and then with the injuries that we've had and losing what we thought was going to be our star man in Scott Twine, he hasn't really played that well this season. The injuries at left back, the fact that we bought 2 raw young centre forwards, but we still thought that Naki Wells was going to be an also ran, a bench warmer who was just going to be an impact sub come on, but he's just showed what a wise player he is. And 4 goals, he's been excellent for us. So considering all the setbacks we've had, to be unbeaten for 8 games and to reduce the number of goals we conceded, I think it's excellent because of all the players that have got to come back. Right. It's a nice problem for Liam Manning to have.
Dave, your point, you raise your hand, then I'll come to you and each of you in turn to talk about the goal, which the third goal, the point clincher, was sublime. But before we do that, you just wanted to add something there, Dave.
Yeah, because Ian talks about good and bad, and I get what he's saying totally about which games have been bad and good. But it's not that, it's the intent. And for whatever reason, whether it's because Hogg stepped in, because they're like 2 peas in a pod, but people are different. People have different ways of interpreting small things. Something small has changed, and ride the wave. Look how we started the season. We started with 2 strikers that now they are punts. They come on the last 20 minutes to add something at the end. You're right, Fally hasn't been given time, but you can't say that when he came on the pitch, he has taken it, because McGuane came on today. Even against Borough, people said, oh, there's a player there. And today he got 70 minutes. He's the first name on the team sheet in the next game. He has earned that one. If he's dropped in the next game, people would be like, no, you can't drop someone after that performance. And sometimes injuries do you a favor. The question before was, how do you get Bird in? How do you get Twine in? Praying, are we performing? Are we not? There were so many bits and pieces. All of a sudden, you remove the questions and you stumble on something. Yeah. Who could watch that performance today and say no?
In fairness, Dave, as Alan Gwinnell's pointed out there, I use the term as being a sea change, and Ian's picked this point up as well. We've only lost 3 games out of 21, so it's easy to pick individual games. I mean, Ian refers to the Blackburn game and half against Derby.
Well, I think only Leeds and Sunderland have lost less games, haven't they, than us?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. It's you can see it on the pitch and what they are doing, and both of them are important.
Maybe it's all starting to come together now. And look, and it did on the 80th minute. You first, Dave. That goal was sublime. I called this fixture the El Clasico of the Championship, the battle for 12th place. Right? But I was trying to work. It was like old Uncle Tom Cobley and all, or Pew Hugh Barney McGrew, Cuffet Dibble Grubb. This was Sykes, Bird, Wells, McGuane, Wells and Bird, bang, goal. Maybe not quite like that, but if somebody like Barcelona had scored that goal, we'd have been shown that as a little look at this. This is sort of champagne football, and it was, wasn't it, Dave?
There are 2 points. First of all, you're 2-1 up. You've got the ball in the corner. You're being booked for time wasting for nonsense. You go for the third. It's the right mentality. Kill the game there and then, and do not hold what you have. Second point. Sometimes you watch football and you think, why do I dedicate my life to this? Nothing is happening. I don't understand why I watch so much of this game. And then it happens and you're back in. It's like The Godfather 3. I was almost out and you're back into football again. It is a beautiful goal. I'm done.
You're done.
Ian, back in.
It was good. It was good. I did a little clap like that when it went in because it was just.
I sent Ian a WhatsApp text. Stunning, I said.
Yeah, Ian, what did you think?
It was. If you were showing people what you liked about football and what you liked about attacking football and how you football, to me, that is the goal that you show them. That is how the game should be played. And like I say, that's the type of goal that you score, and some of the opposition fans clap.
Yeah,
because there's sometimes when you can only put your hands up and go, fair play to you, mate. That was stunning, and it was, and what it shows is the ability. You can't play that kind of football if you're a useless footballer, right? You cannot do it at that level, especially, right? Because Preston were, when I looked at the 3 fixtures moving forward, so PNE, Sheffield United and Norwich, they were the most informed team of those 3.
Yeah.
Home, Sheffield United were out of form away, but as you said earlier on, they won 2-0 at Blackburn today. And Norwich, who were beaten 2-1 at Cardiff, they were behind the game. So Preston was at home, wasn't what some people would call, well, it's one of the games you should win. Because as I've been going through it, we're not entitled to expect to win that based on anything.
It was their first defeat. It was Preston's first defeat in 6. It was their first defeat in 6.
Yeah. And I mean, with respect to them, they made 5 changes in midweek. They lost Brady through injury, who normally plays left wing back, who's got a wicked left foot on him. But they made 5 changes in midweek, and put a weaker side out against Arsenal than they put out against us. Now that's the kind of respect they showed us, and that was obviously their priority was the league. And I was so delighted with that goal, especially as Bird had missed a very similar one.
The one that we described earlier. Okay.
Earlier on. And I've seen Bird score a lot of goals for Derby and direct free kicks as well. So if Twine does get back in the side and you've got Twine in Bird and we do get free kicks on the edge of the box, then I hope Bird gets a go because he can be a bit lethal from about 20 yards. That left foot is a bit of a wand.
It is. Mark, what I liked about the goal was the little back heel that you did, because, and as Ian said,
I did.
Ian said that Bird would have been annoyed with himself for missing the one that hit wide, but this time that little back heel, that was a subliminal. That was the icing on the cake, wasn't it? Yeah, because it just set it up nicely for him to make no mistakes.
Am I right? Did Bird take the throw in?
No.
Oh, he might have done.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so.
I think so. So Bird threw the ball to Sykes, took it back. Then McGuane played it forwards, forward to Bird. Then it went round the corner to you, and he just flicked the ball back. And he had less time than he did with the first one. So he hit it instinctively, but no pass. Those passes were less than 3 yards. It was the movement. So it was the confidence of Max Bird just keep passing and moving the ball through a packed defence, and then it's a goal. And people say, "Oh, tippy tappy football, it's not going to happen." When it works like that, it's beautiful. It's passing and movement.
Because it was brave. It was brave.
It just shows what you can do because they don't expect Max Bird to keep running. Usually you pass the ball, somebody else passing the ball, or you go round the side. But when you see a goal like that, I think it shocks us a bit, because we don't accept Bristol City to play like that. You see a lot of goals like that in the Premier League. You don't see them in the Championship. Not short passes, not coming in from the side like that. Because defences are expected to be able to cope. But when you've got players coming at you, if you've got somebody moving off the ball into space, and then say a 1-2, they can't deal with it. They can't deal with players running at them.
You use the word
so
there,
Mark. It makes the game so simple, but that's how simple the game is when it's done properly.
The word you use there, Mark, the word you use there is the one that I remember, and that was beautiful. It was a beautiful goal by way of its execution. All right, guys, I'm not wrapping up just yet, but we've got 2 more games to look forward to before the international break, and we'll be reviewing Sheffield United at home at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Dave, Sheffield United, Chris Wilder back there for his second or his third spell. I'm looking at their team.
Don't eat a sandwich in front of him, David. He gets upset. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm looking at their team that won at Blackburn today, and the good old Kiefer Moore's up front. I think that's Ryan Brewster. Is it O'Hare, the ex-Coventry player who's in their team? Arblasters, the Rotherham tall defender we were linked with a couple of seasons ago. Is it Suter, who cost an arm and a leg in the back four? That's going to be as big a tough as Leeds, I would say, Dave, wouldn't you?
No, not at all. Not at all. Look at it like this. A couple of weeks ago, when I was last on the pod, 2 wins and 2, may I say, I said if people get behind the team, if the team starts performing, picking up points, and they feel something, the crowd gets up.
Yeah.
I'm in Spain. This game against Sheffield United, this is the hardest thing about living in another country. You have no idea. That is the games you want to go for. The crowd is going to be up for it. The team is going to be up for it. And at the end of the game, I am telling you, if we lose and the intention is right, the fans will walk away feeling like this is it now. That there is something there. For me, the most important thing that I want to see, Knight, McGuane, Bird, you build the team around that, and just go for it. What happens. You want to see a performance because the results follow. The last few games with that intent, it's not a surprise. I might disagree with Ian on the bits before about certain bits of performance, but the results were there. Now I feel like the results are there, and the intent of performance that I want to see is also there. Sheffield United is an opportunity, not something to fear. All
right, that's a good point. Ian, it'd be nice to do them at Ashton Gate, wouldn't it? I don't know what the ticket sales are looking like, but another game under the lights, and I mean, we said we'd take a point before we played Leeds. I want us to get all 3, and I think if we played like we did for second half today, other than the first couple of minutes of the second half, we're capable of doing that, aren't we?
We are. And if I said I'd take a point, you said you'd take a point. Liam Manning won't say I'll take a point, nor will Chris Ogg. They'll go out and try and win the game. Absolutely no doubt about it. You won't see them go up to Leeds and play 7 at the back like we have before and try and eke out, or Leicester and try and eke out something. That won't happen. And whether we can do it is something else. But if the players aren't confident now, they won't ever be confident, will they? I think the way they'll approach the game is in a very positive way. And one thing's unusual: Sheffield United played 4-4-2 today, and that may be as a result of they've been playing 3-5-2. And before today's game, their away form was played 6, 1-2, drew 2, lost 2. I saw them play up at Middlesbrough, watched the whole game, and Suter is good positionally, but by God, he's slow.
Is that the Leicester player?
Harry Suter, Scottish international, isn't he? He's a big lad, so you don't want to be pumping balls up the middle in the air to Naki. But if we play what Mark earlier called the tippy-tappy stuff, or what Pep used to call tiki-taka when he was at Barcelona, I think we could have them in a lot of trouble. And they're not the quickest. Now, they have got quality. Brewster was something like 16 or 18 million from Liverpool. He's had a lot of trouble with injuries. You're right about the lad from Coventry who went there, O'Hare.
And they got
just
Hamer
looking-
as well. Is that Hamer?
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
Gustavo
there as
Hamer.
well.
A couple of, they got him.
Well, he
before
hasn't.
they went to
He
Premier
hasn't
League,
been
didn't they?
starting. He was on the bench today, and he was on the bench the other week as well. So whether he's out of form or carrying a knock, or whether it's because they changed the formation, I mean, Kiefer Moore we know all about, big stick, but I think Dickey and McNally would rather play against a bloke like that than Rhian Brewster. Rhian Brewster is quick, and if they can get him fit and on form, he's a decent player. Now the player Raksaki, I think, is he on loan from Arsenal, Mark?
I don't know, Ian. I
know
haven't come across him.
I know a lot of teams were after him, so he's a decent player as well. So I'm looking at the Preston side today. You know, they've obviously taken advantage of the loan market with the lad they had at wing back and the lad who scored the goal. Both players were on loan. So, you know, they've made some clever signings there, in my opinion. One thing I was really glad at, Reece normally gives us lots and lots of problems, but he was completely negated today.
Yeah.
Our defence, you know, McNally and Dickey, even Aidan Roberts won't be as tall as those other two, but he won't be bullied.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if we do start with Viner, Dickey and McNally as a 3, with maybe Sykes at right wing back and Hayden Roberts on at left.
Yeah, I think.
Mark, what are your thoughts, Mark?
I
need to wrap this up.
I think the key is how we are out of possession, because I think when we press, when we win that ball in the middle of the pitch, how we execute counter attacks and taking our chances, because you know we've won 2 out of 6 at home, 4 have been draws. We want to start turning those draws into wins, and it's not easy, is it? Leeds, Sheffield United, the next home games against Burnley, and we've really given ourselves, you know, something to look up to. But Sheffield United will have a much more mobile front line than Preston did. But it's how we are out of possession and how we recover the ball when we lose possession is been key to, you know, to those wins against Middlesbrough. But going from, you know, a really fortunate goal to what we ended with today, if you'd have said, you know, at half time, City are going to win this game 3-1 and are going to look really comfortable, you wouldn't have believed it, because we looked really flaky, didn't we, at half time? But that's progress. But it's how we were, I think, today, out of possession, I thought we were absolutely terrific.
Yeah. Okay, guys, time to wrap up. I was just going to say, next weekend, it's a Norwich City away. They haven't lost at home for a calendar year, apparently. So it'll be lovely to go up there
or 12 months
and do them. So right, any final word from each of you on any topic to do with City? You first, Dave. Any final pronouncements from you? And 2 out of 2 wins since you've been on the pod.
Well, 2 out of 2 wins. Many years ago I saw City win at Norwich, so you know I have a bit of luck in that place as well. For me, looking at City going forward, I'm curious to see how the 2 strikers, Mali and Armstrong, fit in and where their places are, because at the end of the day, we have one up front. And when you're talking about bringing players and developing them, it's difficult to have room for 2 of that type. I get it. You can't have a perfect player, but you need to give them time. How do you give them both time on the football pitch? It's pretty hard. And I'm not sure that they're both going to be here. And I'm not sure that having both of them, when we get to the end of the season, we'll look back and see they were a good investment, as in having 2. But I'm hoping that one of them will be seen as a good investment and it becomes a first team regular, basically. That for me is the most interesting part of the side.
Okay. Ian, your thoughts, just to wrap up. General thoughts.
I was really pleased with another away win. I'm happy with the progress we're making. And the great thing about today's game for me, as well as scoring 3 goals and getting the 3 points, is I know that we can play at least 30% better than that over 90 minutes with the squad we've got. And if that doesn't make you smile as a City fan, then little else will.
No, that's true.
So we'll see what happens when Twine and Pring are back, and how Joe is, and how George Tanner is. But to be honest, without players like that, couple of seasons ago when we let in that goal at the start of the second half, we'd have folded.
We would.
Different feel and energy about the team now, and hopefully we get much more the same.
All right, and that word you use there, Ian, energy, I use that. That was there again today. Mark, final word from you. You
I
always
don't
like
think
to
I
have a
can add
final
any
word,
more
Mark.
to what the other two have said, but what I want to do is wish my cousin Ken, who's been a Preston fan of over 70 years, he's 86 years old, best wishes after your eye operation. He's at home recovering in Blackpool. I would normally have hopefully gone up there and seen the game with him, but he hasn't been very well. Wish you all the best, Ken, and I'll in your recovery, I'll enjoy talking with you about the game tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, that's good there from Mark. Everybody, thanks. Almost 400 of you. A bit earlier this week than we normally do, but we like to get it out there, and we certainly got it out there tonight. Final score at Deepdale: Preston 1, City 3. Come on, you Reds. Have a good week, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday morning reviewing City versus the Blades.